Picture a 23-year-old sitting cross-legged on a mattress with no bed frame, refreshing a bank app that reads -$400. 8 months ago, he told his mother he was leaving school to build something real. He had a pitch deck on his laptop, a Steve Jobs quote pinned to his lock screen, and absolute certainty in his chest. Tonight, he has a half-built app with 11 downloads, 9 of which are his own test accounts, and a 3.5-month entrepreneurship arc that now exists solely as a LinkedIn post nobody will ever engage with. This is not a rare cautionary tale. This is the default outcome, and the reason it keeps multiplying is because you swallowed a lie so well packaged, so drenched in podcast clips and highlight reels that you confused it with a strategy. The lie goes like this: dropping out is what visionary people do. You absorbed it from every founder interview, every curated biography that conveniently cut the scene, where that person already had family capital, a network built over years, or a skill set sharpened long before they touched a withdrawal form. What you never absorbed was the exposed math. 9 out of 10 people who make that leap do not land. That is not a gentle disclaimer. That is a casualty rate. And the people inside that 90% were not lazy. Nobody serious claims a degree makes you wealthy, but a degree hands you a piece of paper that banks will accept as collateral for a loan, that hiring managers will scan before they read your cover letter, and that keeps exactly one door propped open when every door you tried to build yourself slams shut in sequence. A failed startup gives you none of that. It gives you a narrative. So why does the dropout myth keep recruiting new believers every semester? Because it feels like identity. It feels like choosing courage over conformity. Like proof, you operate on a different frequency. Here is the question that separates the delusional from the dangerous. Can you already make money without anyone handing you a syllabus? Not theoretical money. Not I have this app idea money. Actual cash, transferred from another human being's pocket into yours. Because you solved something they could not solve themselves. If you can't convince one person to pay you $50 for something you can do with your hands or your brain, you won't convince 1,000 people to pay you 500. That is not pessimism. That is arithmetic. The market doesn't grade on enthusiasm. It doesn't care that you wake up at 5 a.m. or that you journal about abundance. It runs on one formula only. What can you deliver that someone will trade their money for? If the answer right now is nothing, then you just quit the one system designed to give you something. Now, flip the lens for a second. There is a 19-year-old kid out there right now, freelancing as a video editor, no degree, no LLC, no motivational quote in his bio, just a skill he taught himself, a laptop, and clients who keep coming back. Not a fortune, but he earns. And that single fact changes the entire equation, because $50 earned on your own teaches you more about how value actually moves through the world than 4 years of sitting in a lecture hall dreaming about 500,000. That is the brutal filter nobody talks about. Entrepreneurship doesn't create skills out of thin air. It monetizes the ones you already carry. Running a business doesn't make you more valuable as a person. It simply exposes whatever value was already sitting inside you, or the complete absence of it. If you never got a stranger to pay you for anything, you are not skipping college. You're jumping out of a plane and hoping gravity decides to take the day off. So, be honest with yourself. For 10 seconds, right now, today, without a degree, without a boss, without a structure telling you what to do, can you earn even something tiny? Even something you'd be embarrassed to post about? Because if that answer is yes. What comes next might actually change your trajectory. And if the answer is no, that doesn't mean the game is over. It means the skill gap is real, and pretending it doesn't exist is the single most expensive lie you will ever tell yourself. The good news is that gap doesn't require 4 years and a mountain of tuition to close, not anymore. Picture someone 3 months into their big dropout decision, sitting on the edge of their bed at 2 in the morning, refreshing a banking app that shows $1,100 left. Rent is due in 9 days. The website they launched still has 0 paying customers. They stop building what they believe in and start building whatever might sell by Friday. That moment, that exact pivot from conviction to panic is where the real money gets made, just not by them. This is what nobody frames correctly. When they talk about dropping out to chase a dream, they talk about courage, they talk about hustle, they talk about grinding through the pain. But the only variable that actually separates the people who build wealth from the people who get ground into dust is one cold, boring number. How many months can you bleed money before you have to beg the market for oxygen? Your runway, not your idea, not your discipline, not your 5 a.m. alarm clock. If you have 12 to 24 months of living expenses sitting in an account you don't touch, you get to be patient. You get to say no to the client who wants to pay you half your rate. You get to walk away from the partnership that smells wrong. You get to test, fail, rebuild, and test again without your landlord breathing down your neck. That patience isn't a personality trait. It is a financial position. It is an asset, and most people who romanticize the dropout path don't own it. Now flip the lens. What happens to the person without that buffer? They take the first deal that shows up. They discount their work before anyone even asks them to. They partner with someone they don't trust because splitting the rent matters more than splitting the equity fairly. Every desperate yes they say transfers a little more of their future value to someone else who had the luxury of waiting. That is the harvest, not some dramatic conspiracy. Just the quiet, mechanical transfer of ownership from the person who can't afford to wait to the person who can. The real question is balance sheet simple. Do you own enough months of survival to build without selling yourself at a loss? Because college, for all its flaws, does one thing that gets overlooked in every dropout fantasy. It buys time, tuition, loans, parental support, campus housing. All of it functions as a borrowed runway. That 19-year-old freelancing as a video editor, pulling in some cash, but nowhere near real profit, is living inside this gap. Right now, the skills might be real. The hunger might be real. But if next month's rent depends on the next client, every creative decision becomes a financial hostage negotiation. The one writing the check knows how desperate you are. They can smell it. So before you even think about where you learn better, inside a classroom or outside one, sit down and answer this first. Who owns your next 12 months? You or your panic? There is a guy right now, maybe 19, maybe 20, sitting in a rented room with a laptop and a half-finished client project that was due 3 days ago. He told everyone he was going all in on freelancing, video editing, sales, whatever he could grab. He woke up this morning at 11, not because he was grinding late, because nothing forced him. No alarm mattered, because no one was checking. He opened his laptop, scrolled for 40 minutes, replied to one email, felt productive, then lost 2 more hours to a rabbit hole that had 0 to do with the project. Bleeding out. By 5 in the afternoon, he had done maybe 90 real minutes of work. And the worst part is he genuinely believed he had been busy all day. That is not a character flaw. It is what happens when structure disappears. You spent years hating professors for assigning deadlines, hating syllabuses for telling you what to read, hating schedules for boxing in your time. You called that independence. You said you worked better on your own terms, but you never actually tested that theory in a room where nobody cared whether you showed up or not. Hating being told what to do and telling yourself what to do are not even in the same zip code. One is an emotion, the other is a skill, and you don't know which one you have until the external pressure is gone. And the only thing left is you. A to-do list you wrote yourself, and 24 hours that nobody is tracking. So here is what you're going to do before you make any decision about dropping out, starting a business, or going all in on anything. This isn't a strategy. This isn't a mindset shift. This is a boring, mechanical, unsexy task. And that is exactly why it works. Buy a cheap notebook, not an app, not a spreadsheet, a physical notebook that sits on your desk and stares at you for 7 days straight, every single evening. Write down exactly how you spent every hour. That was not assigned to you by someone else, not how you planned to spend it, how you actually spent it. Every scroll session, every nap disguised as a break, every hour you told yourself you were thinking but were really just avoiding. Be ruthless. Nobody sees this notebook but you. So lying in it only robs yourself. At the end of those 7 days, count the hours where you genuinely moved something forward without anyone asking you to. Not hours where you felt busy. Hours where the output existed and you could point at it. If that number is below 20% of your free time, you just got the most expensive piece of data about yourself that no tuition bill could ever teach you. You're not self-driven yet. You might get there, but you're not there now. And making a life-altering financial decision based on a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet is the fastest way to end up worse off than if you had just stayed in the seat you were complaining about. That notebook doesn't lie. It doesn't motivate you. It doesn't coach you. It just records what you actually are when nobody is watching. And what it records is going to tell you something. That cuts a lot deeper than any dropout success story on the internet. Because the market doesn't grade on intention. It grades on output. Now rewind. Because that version is optional. Here is what the dropout highlight reels will never frame for you. You don't actually have to choose. The entire dropout or stay set up is a false binary built to generate clicks, not to keep you financially breathing. If your course load is manageable, and be honest, for most of you, it is, you can build quietly on the side without setting your safety net on fire. Degree on one burner, project on the other. Completely unglamorous, but unglamorous is what keeps you eating. When a client vanishes or a launch dies in week 2, and if your program is genuinely punishing some elite tier where every semester is a war of attrition, then the credential you're grinding for carries real weight in the market. Abandoning that isn't courage. It is an expensive gamble, swapping a verified asset for an unverified bet, while the odds sit at 9-1 against you. So here is the only promise that isn't a lie. No one in this conversation is going to tell you this road ends at a penthouse. It doesn't. What it ends at, if you're disciplined and a little bit lucky, is a buffer, a small, boring, completely real gap between you and total freefall. You keep your enrollment alive. You carve 2 focused hours a night for your thing. You tell nobody. You let the work do the talking in 6 months, not in a story post tonight. If you already walked away, if that choice is behind you, then your one move before you sleep is this. Open a blank sheet. Write down every dollar leaving your account this month. Find the single expense you can kill before morning. That isn't an empire. That is a pulse. So, where are you sitting in all of this? still enrolled, and second, guessing, already out, and grinding with no map.